Hey everybody, this is Dominic, and today we'll be looking at the basics of React Native Animations. This will be a continuing series where we'll be exploring the layout animation and the animated API. So this will be on GitHub, and you can take a look at it after this or just follow along the tutorial. So before we start, the quick project layout is I created a source folder with the basics animation component, and I'll be adding more components in this source folder as the series goes on. So as we start, this is what we'll be creating today. Um, a simple ball moving to a random spot on the screen and animating in a spring fashion. As you can see, it's like springing to a random position on the page and bouncing back and forth. So we'll be learning the basics of the layout animation today, or the layout animation API. So the first thing I did was just add our basic animation component to our app.js, so we don't have to worry about it. And also, I went ahead and created a new Expo React Native project using the create React Native app command in the command line. So let's get started. So the first thing we'll do is create a component. I have a shortcut for that on mine. It's just R and C, and we'll just call this basic animation. Okay. And we won't be needing this text, but we will be creating the ball first. So let's just create a ball on the screen. And for that, you would just need a view and create a style and manipulate the border width and radius. So we'll also create the height at 60, the width at 60, the border radius at 30, and the border width at 30 as well. And we're going to give it a color of black for now. You can do whatever color you want, but just going to be black for now. Okay. And this will give us a ball on our screen. So if we save this and look at our simulator, we'll have a ball on our screen. So that's just the ball component. So now let's actually get into the animation. So we'll have to import a couple things. We're going to import the layout animation API, the platforms, um, API, the UI Manager API, and the Dimensions API. I'll explain what we're using, why we need all of these. So first, let's create a constructor. This thing did not auto indent correctly. So let's get a constructor, and we're going to have two pieces in our state. So this dot state equal to object with a x value for the ball's x value on the screen, and the y value on the screen. So for the x and y value, we'll use the dimensions library to get the dimensions of our device, and we'll get the window and the width for the x, of course. And we're gonna divide that by 2 just to be in the middle, kind of relatively middle of the screen um, when we start. And again, we'll do the same thing for the y. We'll get the window height instead of the width. And we'll divide that by 2, so it'll be relatively in the middle. So one more thing for the constructor is we'll have to check, this is for Android devices only. You'll have to check, so first we got to check the platform.os is equal to Android. So this is necessary if you're using the layout animation. You have to set the UI manager um, set layout animation enabled experimental to true. This is if you want to do it on uh, Android devices, so this is necessary. You can read the layout animation docs if you want to know more about that, but it's just required for Android devices. So next, we'll create a function that randomly changes the ball's position uh, every second. So we'll create a function called random position, and we'll actually need to use ES6 syntax. Use ES6 syntax, and we'll set a timeout of 1 second And after that 1 second is done, we'll set the state of the x and y values to a random spot on the screen. So the way we do that is we do x value is equal to math.floor, and we'll pass that math.random, and we'll multiply that by the dimensions of the window again. Okay. And for this one, we'll do y value, and we'll do math.floor, math.random, times the dimension of the height. Okay, and that's all you have to do to actually get a random position on the screen. So we want to actually call or create this animation to, or call this function each time. So when the component mounts, we're going to call the function initially. So this dot set random function, or set random position, and that will call the set random position function when the component mounts. And we actually want to do it as well when the component updates. So we're going to do this dot set state, set random position. So let's take a look at our, as well as we got a set. So the way I'm going to do this to create the effect that the ball is moving is we're going to set the style of the outer view, and we're going to set the padding left to this dot state dot x value, and the padding top to this dot state dot y value. And remember that comma. So let's just look at the component right now. So you'll see the ball's moving, but it's not animated. It's just going to the next value on the screen, or the next random value that is generated each time. So how do we create this animation, that spring animation that we had previously? Well, it's actually very simple. The Layout Animation API makes it very simple for you to create animations like this. You got to do layout animation dot configure next, and you got to pass out a animation type that you want. So there are presets. So presets like the spring one in the layout animation API. You can do layout.presets spring, linear, or ease in and ease out. We're going to use the spring one. So what this line is doing, this is the most important line of all this code, is when what this does is when your layout says next time your layout changes, whatever happens to the state, whatever happens to the component's UI, I'm going to do it in a spring fashion. So meaning that whatever happens to UI, however it changes, I'm going to do it in a spring fashion using the animation API. So let's look at it now. We save this, and you'll see the ball is now springing. So after the state changes, um, after the state changes, the component updates, and it sets the config next, which is the next layout, to a spring animation. So whenever the state changes, the animation is going to change, or sorry, the position of the ball is going to change in an animation or a spring animated fashion. So that is the understanding of this line. And that is actually about it for the basics of animations. Again, this repository will be on GitHub. Um, I will also be continuing the series and going more into the Layout Animation API and as well as the Animate API. So stay tuned, and I will see you guys soon.